Hey there, Jenn Dyes here for Status Coup, and I'm coming to you after a rough night of reporting. As you know, Status Coup has been on the ground in multiple locations due to the protests of the murder of George Floyd, a black man, at the hands of police. And so we've been live for you with a freelancer, Emma Fiala in Minneapolis, and Jordan has been out in New York City, and I have been reporting here in Washington, D.C., where I am coming to you from my hotel room. Please excuse my voice. Please excuse me if I take kind of a pause. My throat doesn't feel so great after the tear gas from last night. But honestly, that is nowhere near the main issue here. So why I'm making this video is not to make things about me, but I know a lot of people want an update about what did happen to me last night. So here's the deal. Things started off at the start of the afternoon yesterday, Saturday, the 30th of May. Peaceful protests. People were marching through the streets of DC. Things were okay. There were, of course, tensions between the police, the Secret Service, and protesters, but there were no, violent clashes earlier in the day. So as night fell, and as I thought would happen, things really started to take a turn. And I think it's important to think about the passion and the meaning behind these protests. People are out in the middle of a pandemic protesting, not because they don't care about getting COVID, not because they don't realize the seriousness of COVID, but because Black people are being murdered by police across this country. It's been going on for, the entirety of this country. Has not gotten better. Police are murdering Black people, and that's what everybody needs to get through their heads. And I think from what we've seen nationwide, that is starting to become the case. People, even white people, are starting to get it. And I put myself in that category as well. I'm trying my best to learn about the struggles of Black people. I'm trying my best to be a good ally. And on the journalistic side, I'm trying my best to document this very historic moment, because we have never, while obviously we've seen, after Freddie Gray was murdered by police, there were protests in Baltimore. There have been protests in various cities after the deaths of a lot of these names. There's just such a list of names of Black people who've been murdered by police just in the last few to several years. I don't want to leave anyone out. Eric Garner, Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, Philando Castile, Freddie Gray. The list goes on and on and on and on. So people are at this point now where the protests before, it's different. There's something different in the air. The protests before mattered. The protests before were important. But I think now we're at a turning point where, after George Floyd was killed by Derek Chauvin, police officer Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis, people are at a breaking point. Again, Black people are being murdered by police. So now we see uprisings all across the country. You've seen from LA, Minneapolis, Seattle, here in Washington, D.C., all over the place, people are protesting, and rightfully so. This is really taking off. It's taking the country by storm. And police are not happy about it. The powers that be are not happy about it because I think they too sense that this is different. This time is different. This time, people, even people who aren't and haven't been able, who haven't experienced this kind of police brutality themselves firsthand, they get it. And people want to be allies, and people are not going to stand for this. So I don't mean to ramble on and on. I really sense that things are different. These protests are not going to stop anytime soon, in my estimation. Right now here in DC, it's 3:37 as I record this, and there's another march to the White House right now. I suspect things will get heated tonight as well. So let's back up to what happened last night. So I wanted to be there to document what was going on, the protests, the uprising, and because it's a historical moment. And as a journalist, that's what we do here at Status Coup. We're on the ground reporting on what matters. So I was with the protests, the marchers earlier in the day. As it turned to night, things kind of took a turn, and some protesters were even more ramped up in their fight against the racism of police. So in front of the White House, and when I say in front of the White House, I don't mean directly in front of the White House. What I mean is behind Lafayette Square. So protesters could not get, after the first night, which was Friday night of protests in DC, of larger protests in DC, the police pushed back the line. So you couldn't even get anywhere near close to the White House yesterday. So behind Lafayette Square, I believe we were on H Street. So people started to gather there as night fell. Protesters were throwing things, protesters were setting things on fire, and things got heated. The cops were frequently tear gassing the entire protest. And if you watch my reporting from last night, you'll see that I was coughing. It was getting in my eyes. Protesters all over the place were just in. It really, really affects you. It makes you cough like crazy. If you're directly sprayed, then it gets in your eyes, and it's just really, really painful. So that was happening back and forth. Protesters were protesting, and cops would then respond. So protesters were helping each other out. They had kind of medic stations set up. In order to get the tear gas to start, to lessen its effects, people were pouring milk in their eyes, baking soda solutions, things like that. Protesters were handing out water to one another. There was really a sense of, even though there's all this anger towards the police, this rightful anger towards the racist police, protesters were by each other's sides and were really helping each other out. As I said, there were small fires set. There was a literal dumpster fire right in front of where the police were standing. Protesters were taking away the gates, the guardrails that were in between them and the police, and they took those away so that there was less of a distance. So as I was standing there reporting, this was early on in the night, I got aimed at by a police officer or a Secret Service, I'm not sure which, and I don't know if you can see here my arm. I got hit with a pellet. I'm not sure exactly what it was. When it hit me, it was like a white powder and this red spot. Now it's like a raised red spot with I don't know if you can see the bruise around it. Oops, this way. The bruise around it. Pretty painful. But that was happening to protesters. Now, I was easily identifiable as a journalist. So as we saw across the country last night, cops are not just targeting protesters. Cops are also targeting media. Even mainstream media was getting targeted. When I say even, I don't mean to diminish anything that happened to any media person. I'm just saying it's more of a surprise for mainstream journalists to be targeted from major outlets than it is for, someone like me who's from an independent outlet. In any case, I was easily identifiable as a journalist, and I was still hit with this pellet bullet, whatever it was. So that's what happened early on in the night. I was okay. The tear gas sucked, but I kept reporting. I was able to interview some people. Sometimes in these situations, people don't really want to be interviewed because they have to keep a lookout for what the cops are doing and what's happening. If there's tear gas coming, there were fireworks exploding. So it was difficult to interview people in that environment. But I got a few interviews in, just talking to people, just documenting what was going on. So at one point, to kind of make a long story shorter here, at one point, protesters started running down the other street. So I followed to see what was going on because I could hear some loud booms. So I went over there, walked down, and there were cops lined up there as well. Then what I saw was a vehicle was on fire, and I guess that was causing the booming sounds. Then a second vehicle was on fire as well. Protesters had done that. As far as I know, I didn't see what exactly happened before it was on fire. So I got over there. I was simply standing, and the police were here. I was standing, in front of them, just filming, just documenting, just talking into my microphone. So what I had in my hand was a monopod, a microphone to interview people, to talk to the audience, and and so I was live streaming on YouTube. And you can go check out exactly what happened. We also have a snippet of what happened as well up on the channel. So all of a sudden, someone threw a firecracker or firework at the feet of police. And then I saw it and protesters saw it, and we all started walking backwards, like trying to get away from this because we didn't know if it was going to go off. All of a sudden, before I knew what was happening, police charged at us, knocking us to the ground, and knocked my monopod, knocked my phone off the monopod, knocked my microphone off. So I lost everything. I had my backpack on. I still have my backpack. It's fine. So I stood up shaken, and I nicely said, "My phone's right there. Can I bend down and pick it up? Can I grab my phone?" And all of a sudden, the cop who had initially targeted me charged me again with his shield. I saw the flash of his baton. He didn't beat me with his baton or anything like that, but he kept going like this with his shield and pushed me to the ground again and wouldn't stop. He kept coming after me, kept attacking me. So protesters, thankfully, thank goodness for these kind people who are fighting for their rights. They ran over, grabbed me, and dragged me away from the attacks of this police officer. Again, I was easily identifiable as media, as a journalist, and this cop was attacking me, as he was doing as other cops were doing to other protesters who were peaceful, who were standing there. They weren't the ones who threw the firecracker or the firework. I still don't know exactly, which it was. You can see in the video. Maybe you can tell for yourself through the video. But I was pulled to safety from protesters. There was no way of getting my phone back. I was obviously shaken up. I fell on my hip. It's really, so as far as how I'm doing, I'm okay. I have some scratches and bruises. I fell on my hip. It really, really hurts to walk. I got some Aleve today, and I got some, BioFreeze to try to take the aches and pains away. But I'm okay. I'm lucky. I'm very, very lucky. And I just, what I experienced is nothing compared to what Black people experience all across this country at the hands of police. And it's just disgusting. So, going back, unbeknownst to me, my phone kept streaming. So my phone streamed for 90 minutes after it was knocked out of my hand. So we had this massive audience on Status Coup watching, and nothing, because it was just a black screen, but you could hear what sounded like a war zone in the background because the audio kept going. So that's what happened. I'm okay. Everyone's asking about my phone too. There's no way of getting my phone back. I tried to wipe it before it died remotely, which it was an iPhone, so I could do that through iCloud. So this is getting long. I don't want it to get long. Again, I don't want it to be about me. I just wanted to give an update. I urge you guys, please keep us on the ground reporting. This needs to be documented. We need to keep reporting on what's going on. So we need your help to do it. Please become a member, statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as 16 cents a day. If you're already a member, you can support us on our GoFundMe fundraiser. You can help, defray the cost of the new equipment that I'll need to keep reporting. You can go to gofundme.com/status-coup-news and help fund us at any amount. Thank you guys. Keep your eye on this channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We will keep reporting from different cities. We will be on the ground. So I hope you're all okay, and solidarity with everyone. Bye.